What if I told you that pretty much everything you think about freedom, government, and even yourself was shaped by a handful of thinkers centuries ago? Well, today we're diving into the Enlightenment, this incredible, revolutionary period that basically gave us the modern world. We're going to meet the key figures who dared to question everything. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so to really get the Enlightenment, you have to understand the world it was fighting against. On one side, you've got the old world. Here, kings ruled by divine right, which basically means their power came straight from God, so you couldn't question them. The church's word was the law. But then, on the other side, a new world was dawning, and it was lit by the power of human reason. This new way of thinking was all about liberty, individual rights, and this totally radical idea that we, as in human beings, could actually build a better society. It wasn't just a protest, it was a revolution of the mind.
So how in the world do you start a revolution in thinking? It doesn't begin with signs in the street. It starts by building a completely new toolkit, a new way of understanding reality itself. And there were two guys who were absolutely crucial in forging these new tools.
First up, you've got Sir Francis Bacon. Now, at a time when truth was whatever the church and some ancient books said it was, Bacon came along with this game-changing idea. He argued that if you really want to understand the world, you have to go out and observe it. He laid out the scientific method. Go gather data, test your ideas with experiments, and just let nature show you how things really work. All of a sudden, knowledge wasn't something you were just told to believe, it was something you could discover for yourself.
Now, while Bacon was looking out at the world, kind of like a detective, the French philosopher René Descartes was looking inward into his own mind. He started with this radical doubt. He questioned everything, what he saw, what he remembered, even the fact that he had a body. What was the one thing he could be absolutely sure of? Well, he realized the one thing he couldn't doubt was the fact that he was doubting. And to doubt, you have to think. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. This became the solid bedrock for everything else he believed.
And right here, you see the two great engines that powered the entire Enlightenment. On one side, you have Bacon's empiricism, right? It's all about observation, building knowledge from the outside in. Then you have Descartes' rationalism. Think of a mathematician who built a proof using nothing but pure logic. Truth comes from reason. It's built from the inside out. And these two ideas, observation and logic, they would become the absolute foundation of the modern world.
Okay, so once you have these incredibly powerful new tools for understanding reality, it's really only a matter of time before you turn them on society itself. Thinkers started asking this truly dangerous question. If we can use reason to figure out the stars, why can't we use it to build a better government?
And this is where John Locke walks onto the stage with a truly mind-blowing idea, the tabula rasa, which is Latin for blank slate. See, the old view was that you were just born into your place in life. A king was a king, a peasant was a peasant, end of story. Locke said, nope. He argued that our minds are like empty canvases when we're born, and it's our experiences, what we see and learn, that paint the picture. This simple idea was a direct attack on the entire class system.
And that leads to a totally explosive question. If we all start as blank slates, what does that mean for how society should be structured? For Locke, the answer was crystal clear. It means we are all born free and equal, and he used this idea to just dismantle the whole concept of the divine right of kings. Instead, he argued for a government that's created by the people, for the people, with one main job, protecting our natural rights.
Then Jean-Jacques Rousseau comes along and takes this idea even further. In his super famous book, The Social Contract, he basically said that a government is only legit if the people actually agree to be ruled by it. He imagined a direct democracy where every single citizen, not just some representatives, has a direct say in making the laws. This radical vision of power coming from the people would become a huge rallying cry for the French Revolution.
But look, even the best ideas are totally useless if they just stay locked away in some dusty old books, right? To actually change the world, these ideas needed a megaphone. They needed a way to reach the people. And a few key figures became the superstar voices of the Enlightenment.
And believe me, no voice was louder than Voltaire's. This guy was a total literary celebrity, famous for his razor-sharp wit. He used his writing to just mercilessly mock the church and the king. His motto was "Écrasez l'infâme," crush the infamous thing. And for him, that thing was superstition, intolerance, you name it. He was such a fierce champion for freedom of speech and religion that he actually got exiled from France. But it was too late. His ideas were already spreading like wildfire.
At the same time, Denis Diderot was taking on one of the most ambitious projects you can even imagine, the encyclopedia. His goal was, well, It was to collect and organize all of human knowledge into a single set of books. It was this massive effort to democratize information, to take knowledge out of the hands of just the rich and powerful and make it available to everyone.
Meanwhile, over on the other side of the Atlantic, these ideas were about to set off a literal revolution. An English writer named Thomas Paine published this short little pamphlet in January of 1776. It was called Common Sense. And it wasn't for philosophers. It was written in plain, simple language for everyday people. It just exploded across the American colonies, making this powerful, logical case for independence from Britain. And get this, just 6 months later, the Declaration of Independence was signed, and its words directly echoed the very ideas Paine had laid out so clearly.
So what happens when these revolutionary ideas jump off the page and walk into the halls of power? This is where theory meets the real world, and we get to see how these huge concepts were put into practice by two very different kinds of leaders.
So check this out. Here we have two fascinating case studies. In Europe, you had Friedrich the Great of Prussia. People called him an enlightened monarch. He loved philosophy. He even gave Voltaire a place to stay. But at the end of the day, he was still a king with absolute power. Then in America, you had Benjamin Franklin. He wasn't a king. He was a citizen, an inventor, a writer, a statesman. He took these same Enlightenment ideals not to just tweak a monarchy, but to build a brand new republic from scratch, baking them right into the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. But, the Age of Reason wasn't all just sunshine and optimism. The Enlightenment actually produced its own critics, thinkers who started to question its biggest assumptions, all while leaving a legacy that we are absolutely still living with today.
Yeah, not everyone was totally sold on the power of pure reason. The Scottish philosopher David Hume was kind of like the Enlightenment's great skeptic. While everyone else was building these grand logical systems, Hume was busy poking holes in them. He questioned everything, from arguments for God's existence to the very idea of cause and effect. He argued that our morals don't come from reason, but from our passions and our feelings. Hume was this crucial reminder that even in an age of reason, some things might just always be uncertain.
So why does any of this from centuries ago matter to you today? Because the Enlightenment isn't just in our history books, it's practically in our DNA. The democracy you live in, the human rights you take for granted, the scientific progress that defines our entire world, even just the basic belief that we can make things better, all of these powerful ideas are the direct legacy of the thinkers we've been talking about.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? The core struggles of the Enlightenment, the fight for free expression, the challenge to absolute authority, the big debate between faith and reason, these aren't just things that happened a long time ago. They are alive and well. They're being fought right now, in new ways, on new platforms, all around the globe. The questions they ask are still the questions we're all trying to answer.